2016 came to a bleak close. The year had been a tragedy. Terrorism, deaths of some of the most beloved celebrities, and the most horrific of them all. Halloween was on a Monday. We had hoped that in the last few days of the year we would be given some sort of reprisal, something good to remember the year by. But there was nothing. Rather than snow, we were treated to a smattering of rain, ceaseless and grey. As midnight rolled ever closer on New Year's Eve, it became clear that any attempts to make 2016 comparable to anything more than a pile of shit were worthless. The clocks ticked from 11:59 to midnight, and we saw perhaps the biggest New Year's celebration of all time. Finally, 2016 was over. We were free. We could move into a new time of peace and prosperity. Oh, how wrong we were. It started on January the 3rd, a warning sign that we ignored. Surely 2017 could be no worse than its predecessor. The international grape shortage. A terrible plague-like disease targeted the roots of grapevines. We thought that it would be the bananas or coffee beans that would go extinct first. But it was the grapes. And just like that, there was no more wine. There were no more raisins. Our favourite tiny fruit was gone. But this was only the first of the travesties that would establish 2017 as the worst year in human history. Whilst it may not have been an international event, something truly horrible occurred just 21 days later. Raffi straightened his hair. Why he chose to do so was unclear. Perhaps realising the incredible failure that 2017 would be, he entered some sort of preemptive emo phase. It was certainly horrifying. And how could I get this far without mentioning last year's US presidential election? As everyone predicted, Trump lost. Thank God. So instead, we were treated to the first female president, Hillary Clinton. Everyone thought she would be far better than Trump, but it seemed that whatever we wanted to believe was crushed by the universe. Rather than be better than Trump, she decided to take it a step further. She became the opposite of Trump, also known as an SJW. Her first move was to ban any content that was deemed offensive by her new board, the US Department for Preservation of Non-Offense. By 2017, this policy was in full effect. Monitoring of television entertainment and a censor on many internet web pages were immediately put in place throughout the US. The disruption this caused was felt worldwide. With no TV content being released from America, we were left with EastEnders and Coronation Street. Channels that mostly showed or reran American content, such as E4, were hit the most. They only had one opportunity to keep running, and began to show content from the only other country mass-producing movies, India. And thus, we entered the Bollywood age. Slowly but surely, similar policies began to run in countries around the world. We had regressed back to a time similar to the rule of Oliver Cromwell. It seemed that fun itself was banned. People began to turn to their own circles of friends to make entertainment. Some were already established. Group chats bursting with memes, some full to the brim with hundreds of people exchanging Pepes and Dat Boys. Gradually, a new internet culture began to build, hidden behind non-monitorable social networks. It became possible for in-jokes to spread to the masses. By August, the male lesbian, hooded head and drunk pumpkin fucker had been seen by millions. But as memes do, they become stale. We awaited a new meme, something to break the constant repetition. A fourth member would have to step forward. It would be a risk. If caught, a living meme would be imprisoned by the now worldwide SJW government. There was one man up to the task. Gil. A new meme, forged from his heart of gold, could bring humanity out of a humorless dark age. But he had disappeared. Billions of people now awaited his return. Morale began to drop as by late October, he showed no signs of returning. A cult grew around his return. Focused on the sole purpose of finding him, the cult of the Fourth awaited. When they found him, they could use him as their figurehead. A way to fight back against a world that sought to crush all joy. Gil could save them all. But where would he be? Where could he hide? This was a question that was asked around the globe. Somewhere he hid, even undetectable to the male privilege scanners used by the new police force, dubbed the Triggered. As time wore on, rumours spread that perhaps he'd been captured, used as an anti-meme tool, but the ever-growing cult of the Fourth believed that he was out there, somewhere. The cult's network spread. By the bells of the next Christmas, there were members on every continent, except Antarctica. Antarctica had been completely abandoned, for fear that living there was cultural appropriation towards penguins. A first guess was that he'd left for Japan, but they had closed their borders to non-natives long ago. When Clinton first took up her position as leader, many weeaboos seeked escape into the promised Animu land. After letting in but a few fat old men dressed in Sailor Moon outfits, the Japanese decided that they'd given up hope on the outside world and began to live in perfect isolation. But other areas of Asia remained open. The cult scoured the land. China, South Korea, Vietnam. But then it became clear. There was a country that had always been isolated and free from the SJW terrors of the outside world. North Korea. The three top members of the cult crossed the border from the south to the north. They expected to be shot at. But no, they passed freely. No soldiers were there, let alone attempting to stop them. In fact, the city was vastly different. No longer were the people oppressed slaves. They seemed happy. Far happier than the people in the rest of the world. The cult members attracted quite a bit of attention, wearing their purple Moroccan coats, each with the pointed hood raised over their head. As they entered Pyongyang's main square, I hope that's how you pronounce it, they realised that they were in the centre of a huge celebration. Up on the palace balcony, two men stood. Kim Jong-un and... Gil? The celebration went silent as Kim motioned his hand towards the three hooded men. One of the cult members lowered his hood, revealing straightened hair. He shouted up to the balcony. "What the fuck, Gil?" Gil shouted back. "I could say the same to you, Raffi. What the fuck did you do to your hair?" Gil shouted for the three of them to come to the palace door, where he greeted them and let them inside. "What the fuck is going on here, Gil?" Lucas asked. "Well, I came here after the rest of the world went to shit, and I told Mr. Un that North Korea actually was the greatest country on Earth now, and convinced him to set everyone free." "So, it was that easy?" Raffi said. "Yeah. Turns out the UN were just shit at their jobs the whole time." But Gil," James said, "you need to come back with us. If I make a meme of you, we could save the whole planet." "Oh, don't worry about that. I've been here for a year now, and we've been slowly introducing the people to memes. They're basically a meme army now." "What the fuck is a meme army?" the three purple-coated boys asked in unison. "Well, it's like a normal army, but they spend all their time on the internet looking at memes. They're basically useless." Raffi spoke back. "Are you fucking kidding me?" Gil looked back in silence, and then smiled. "Yeah, I am. They're celebrating because they just finished building the last nuke. Watch." Gil pulled a button out of his pocket and then slammed his middle finger into it. He then pointed out the window, gesturing towards hundreds of rockets that rose into the sky. Fighting people with memes is a really stupid idea, so we thought, let's blow them up instead. And so, every country except North Korea was destroyed. But what about our four heroes? Well, Raffi, Lucas and Gil suddenly realised that the rest of the people on Earth were all Asian, so they could finally live out their weeaboo dreams. But what about James? Well, he committed suicide after writing this piece of shit. But in a sudden plot twist, Gil woke up. He'd had an extraordinary dream. SJWs had taken over the world, and then he'd gone to North Korea and nuked everyone. And then upon realising where he was, he remembered that SJWs had taken over the world. But instead of going to North Korea, he'd gone to Antarctica. Now he was lying on his seal fur mattress in his igloo. Trying to get back to sleep, he imagined that he was back in his dreamland weeaboo paradise. But he was brought back to reality by a sharp knocking on his door. It was probably just another penguin asking if he'd found Jesus yet. Fucking Mormon penguins. He opened the door to see three men in purple coats. One of them lowered his hood. "Oh fuck," Gil said. "It wasn't a dream. Raffi really did straighten his hair." Gil squinted out into the bleak, bright Arctic world, which suddenly flashed, prompting him to lift his hand up to his face. "Yes, this photo's perfect," James said as he pulled out his laptop to start memeing him. You came all this way just to get a photo? I could have sent you one. James, you stupid bastard. How come you didn't think of that? Said Lucas. Apparently the problems in their relationship followed them into pieces of fiction too. Lucas, shut the fuck up. I'll go into another rant, you fucking weeaboo piece of shite. Raffi, since you're the only one who isn't arguing like a married couple, Gil asked, how did you even get here? Oh, it was easy. You just break the fourth wall and do a new paragraph. Like this. After making their way back to the UK, they were ready to release the Gil meme. It had been photoshopped beyond recognition. Gil was more meme than man. It's uploading now. In just a few minutes it will have spread to the entire internet. It will be the spark of hope that will save this world, James said in an incredibly cheesy break from character. It's a bit like the Hunger Games, said Gil. What? Replied everyone in the room. Yeah, like how she's the only person who can make the rebellion happen because she didn't eat berries or whatever. Gil, that's completely different. You're the only person who can make this rebellion happen because of memes, not berries. Have you even been paying attention? No, not really. No one's reading this anyway. Well, they're listening to it now, so fuck you. Shut the fuck up, Gil. Anyway, it's 74% uploaded. Not long now. Gil wondered where they were. It looked like some sort of cave filled with spiders and cobwebs. The walls were dripping wet. Where the fuck are we? Gil asked. Oh, this is Lucas's bedroom, replied Raffi. Ah, that explains the body pillow. But what's that white stuff all over it? Oh, just ignore the stuff in here, Gil. Just focus on the memes, Lucas said nervously. So, how's the upload going, James? 86%. Raffi noted how easy it was to build tension with the occasional subtle inclusion of a countdown. It was almost as if something was about to happen. 90%! Only about a minute to go! A clock ticked in the corner. Were its hands simply providing a time, or moving towards a more sinister goal? 91%! Lucas looked around nervously, but it was unclear whether it was about the upload, or if he was worried that the cupboard door that protected his hentai collection was about to burst open. 94%! Hey, come on, how are we supposed to build tension if you keep skipping percentages? You really think I can be bothered to write filler in between 10 percentages? Anyway, 96%. A sudden knock turned everyone's face to the door. Someone was outside. Oh shit, whispered Gil. A second knock, this time a repeated banging on the door. What do we do? I don't know. Hold them off. It's at 98%. The doorbell rang. Who is it? Lucas shouted loudly, now in a cold sweat. If it was the police, they'd burn all his hentai. The only reply was another ring at the doorbell. I'll answer it, Lucas said. Lucas, no! Raffi shouted back. Raffi, if we comply, they might not burn my hentai. Lucas sprinted to the door and pulled it open. Hi there, young man. Have you found Jesus? He received a slammed door from Raffi as a reply. Oh, for fuck's sake, even in the apocalypse. It's at 100%! The ecstatic cry came from Lucas's room. Everyone crowded around the laptop screen. And send, James said as he slammed his finger on the enter key. All around the world, phones lit up. The image was sent everywhere at once. It inspired so much in people. It showed that there was still humour in the world. And overnight, the uprising began. James, this really makes no sense. How could a picture of me do all that? Gil asked one evening as the sun set and turned the sky a hazy red. It doesn't really matter, does it? It worked, and it gave us a pretty cool story. I don't know. This ending seems sort of unsatisfying. It was too easy. Listen, Gil, I'm just too lazy to write a cool action sequence, but I guess this is probably pretty funny. And people say it's not the destination, it's the journey. They sat there for a few moments as the sun sank below the horizon. There's an infinite number of realities. Perhaps somewhere this story ended with us fighting a massive mecha Hillary. Somewhere it didn't happen at all. And maybe, somewhere in the endless multiverse, there's some poor sods living in a universe where Trump won. A universe where all of this is just a story. A stupid tale woven as some sort of escape from a disgusting reality. And even if somewhere out there, that's all true, it's important to remember that a regime can't last forever. Whether it's the crack of a gun or the final slam of the gates of hell, it will all come to an end eventually. Are you really saying all this soppy shit so that in the universe where this is a story it would be a nice ending? Oh, come on, Gil. You had to fucking ruin it, didn't you?